If showing up for other people is second nature to you, but you struggle to show up for yourself, this is your space. Hi, everybody. My name is Corinne. Welcome to the first episode of Self-Care with TiCa. Over here, we talk all things mental health, mental wellness, and most importantly, self-care. So, one of the main reasons I started this journey or this podcast is because it's been in my heart for a while now. So, during the pandemic, as you all know, COVID took over and mental health was at all-time high. Burnout prevention, isolation, grief. It was so much going on. Even myself at the time, I was a therapist and I was counseling so many people, especially women. I realized there was a need, right? So for me, self-care was always at the forefront of everything that I do. My friends, they always call me the self-care queen. So that's always been my faith and the way I care for myself. So I never really struggle, honestly, to take care of myself. Do I struggle at times, when life is happening? Of course I do. So to me, that's like the reset that I need at times. But when it comes to take care of myself, I've always made sure that I care for myself, not just because of the field that I'm in, but I also like to practice what I preach. So I would go speak at different events and people would like, Corinne, you need to, I'm hearing God say a podcast. And I'm like, no, I don't like talking. I don't really like talking in front of people. Believe it or not, I'm very, very, very introverted. So getting out of my shell this year was a big part of my goal, to really step out on my faith, step out on my calling, making sure that I'm doing what I need to do, and making sure that I've birthed this podcast today. So today I just want to talk about myself, who I am, my background, and why you should come on this journey with me. So why this podcast? So to me, this space is a place where we are taking a pause, we are breathing, taking a deep breath, and most importantly, it's a space for you to kind of like reflect and understand the importance of prioritizing the most important person, and that is you. Right? So for so many times, working with women mostly, we always struggle to put ourselves first, right? That mom, the children are first, the wife, the house is first, that entrepreneur, you hustling and bustling, you out there doing all the great things. But at the end of the day, the most important person is you. So a lot of the time we struggle to put ourselves first, or when we do, we have that guilt that sometimes associate with it. And that's not the goal, right? The first ministry after God, I believe, is we have to learn to take care of ourselves. We cannot be the best. We cannot show up as the best version of ourselves if we're not well, right? So let's think about you going out there doing all the things, and you find yourself at times frustrated. You're frustrated. At times, you are running very low. You're tired, but you keep going, and that is not good for you. That's not good for your mental health. That's not good for the people around you when you don't show up as your best self. And most importantly, you want to make sure that you are living the life that God created you to live, to not just be happy, but also have joy, right? There's a difference between happiness and joy, and we'll delve into that way more deeper as we go into more podcast episode. But there's the joy that you want to feel every day, and learning to do this as you go. So for me, when I was thinking of creating this space, number one, I took my time. I never questioned my abilities, because doing this is just second nature. It's natural to me. I can talk about mental health and wellness all day because that's what I do. That's who I am. And that's what I enjoy to do. But I wanted to create this space for that entrepreneur that feels like they don't have that space where people goes to them for answers, but they don't have a space to go for answer. I wanted to have that space for the mom that also want that time for themselves, but they don't always know what to do, or whatever that your title might be. That's one of the reasons this space is created, and it's for you to learn how to take care of yourself, right? We hear self-care all the time. We hear take self-care, self-care, self-care. But what is self-care? When you think of self-care for yourself, what is self-care right now? So as I was thinking of creating this space, as I was thinking of not just myself or my audience or you, I want you to have that space for yourself where you're taking that time, you are learning about yourself, you are reflecting about yourself, and most importantly, you are doing. You're not just learning, but you're applying what you're learning. So as I was looking for this, starting this, a name for the podcast, I called it, self-care. I wanted something with self-care, of course, and with TiCa. So a lot of people may not know, but my nickname is TiCa. So my name is Corinne, or Colleen in French, but growing up I was called TiCa, right? So the people who are very close to me, you'll hear them call me TiCa a lot. So I wanted that name to kind of reflect not just who I am, but also what I do, but also, y'all know I'm gonna bring it, my culture. So that is one of the reasons my slogan is Pose. Pose in Haitian Creole means relax. Take a step back, right? It's self-care o'clock. So with self-care o'clock, any time can be self-care o'clock. Whatever your mind tells you, when you're telling your mind to slow down, that's self-care o'clock. You watching this with me, that's self-care o'clock. After we're done with this and you practicing what we're learning today, that's self-care o'clock. So self-care o'clock can be anywhere, right? It's self-care o'clock somewhere, as they say for some people that, drinking sometimes, right? It can be in your car, it can be in your room, it could be in the parking lot, it could be any space that you are giving your time to breathe and reflect and pose, relax. That's what we're calling self-care o'clock today. So as I was looking for that name, Self-Care with TiCa, and the slogan to reflect my values, what I love, that's what I call it, Pose with TiCa. So the word today is what? Pose. So I wanted the first episode to really be short and sweet and straight to the point, but I wanted to give you the vision of where this is going, right? Where the vision for self-care with TiCa is going. Some days, the episodes I'll be by myself, just me talking to you and just us hanging out and me giving you some tips, and you are more than welcome to email me, DM me, because a lot of my content, honestly, I would think of something great and sometimes somebody will be like, can you talk about that? And I'm like, oh, I never thought about this. This is actually self-care, right? Because everything we do affect us mentally. That's what a lot of people don't understand. So for me, as I'm thinking of the vision for this podcast, I'll be by myself sometimes, just me, us hanging out, giving you some tips for your day, what you can do, things that you can apply, and you're talking back to me. One of my goals is I'm surrounded by a lot of great people who are professional, who are thriving in their own career, who are thriving in their own lives, and these are going to be my special guests. So I'm very excited about the guests that I have lineups for y'all. They're gonna come in and hang out with me, and we're gonna talk about all things self-care, struggle of self-care, what they do for self-care, what does self-care look like for them. And the next part of this podcast is, y'all know I'm an educator at heart. I'm big on educating people about the things that they need to do, but also apply what you learn. So a big part of this podcast is making sure that we are educating you to know exactly what does that look like, what does that show up like, and what can you do about it. And here are the most important part, resources. It's one thing to pray for somebody, it's something else to say, here, get this, go there, talk to this person. A big part of reason people don't seek help is because there's a lack of resources. So I'm big on resources. So my guests will be bringing resources. Myself will be bringing resources for you all to learn exactly what you need to do to care for yourself. So I'll be by myself. I'm going to have some guests over here. And one of my favorite part of this podcast as I was developing it, I'm a planner at heart, and y'all get to know me as you go further into this, is my Sip of SelfCare segment. So with the Sip of SelfCare segment is when you and I are sitting down, or my guests, we are doing the things. What are the things? We are learning from what we're talking about. How can we practice this during this time? So if you're driving as you're listening to this, later on, come back to the segment of the Sip of Self-Care segment. That's the most important segment. That's where we're going to learn together. How can we practice this thing or this segment or this conversation that Corinne is having, or Corinne and her guest is having? So it's a Sip of Self-Care segment. So I'm going to invite you right now to grab your coffee, your tea, or your favorite drink, and you're going to join me with the Sip of Self-Care segment of the day. Go ahead. Go grab it. So, welcome back. If you went to get your tea, your coffee, or whatever you're drinking, this segment, that's my favorite segment. And that is the Sip of Self-Care segment, right? So since this is the first episode, one thing I want you to understand, if you're not used to this process of taking care of yourself, I want you to think of anything that you're learning, anything that's new to you. You want to start small, right? So number one, we're going to start small. Just you listening to this, that's a big step. You finding time for this, or if you're listening to this and you want to come back to it so you can take your time to do this segment with me, we're starting small. In anything that you don't know, you want to start small. You also want to give yourself grace, right? Because when you're not used to something, you have to give yourself time to learn what you're learning or what's new to you, right? Doing this podcast, if I tell you the stories behind the scene, you won't believe me, because this is new to me. So I had to learn to give myself grace, learning the steps that comes with it. So, and understanding that this is something I'm starting. It's not new to me. It's new. The content is not new, but the behind the scene is new. So I'm giving myself grace, starting small. And number three is we're going to work on our boundaries, right? A lot of the time, the reason why a lot of us struggle with our mental well-being, or we're stressed or overwhelmed, is because we have so many demands. So you have to know what your boundaries are. You have to understand no is a complete sentence. So you want to check in with yourself by making sure, like, how am I doing? How am I doing mentally? Am I enjoying the things that I once enjoyed in the past, right? Whether it's reading a book, walking, talking to a friend, connecting, the things that you have once loved or enjoyed, we want to come back to these things. Or if you struggle finding it, this is why this space matters. We're going to expose you to different activities, different coping mechanism, different style that we're going to learn together, so you make sure how to protect your well-being. So we're going to start small. We're going to give ourselves grace. We're going to work on our boundaries. We're going to check in with ourselves. And that's the most important part. We're not going to check in with ourselves when we feel burnt out, but we're going to check in with ourselves throughout the day. We're going to check in with ourselves every day. If one thing you're going to learn here is self-care, you don't do it when you're feeling burnt out. You don't do it when you feel like there's no memory left in you. You have to do self-care as you go. And you're going to realize the things that you've been doing were self-care. Or the things you're going to realize that, oh, that's self-care? Yes. And that is a part of that. So for you right now, for this segment, I want you to grab a piece of paper or a journal or your phone, whatever that you can find to write with. I have my journal here. One moment. So for me, I designed this during the pandemic. I enjoy journaling. I enjoy writing my thoughts down. So that's my way of kind of have clarity about what's going on in my life, right? So whatever that looks like for you, and I'll put the link if you're interested about that. And that's my journaling. So I want you to write down right now, what are some of the things that you are struggling with to care for yourself? What are they? Is it guilt? Is it that I don't have time? Or is it that I'm scared? Is it that I don't know what to do? Or is it that I can't think properly right now because I have so much going on? So I want you to take some time for yourself during the Sip of SelfCare moment and write down, what are some of the things that I'm struggling with in this current season of my life or this week? Great job. I'm proud of you. Now, after you've done writing or written down everything about what you feel like that's stressing you in this current season, I want you to take a sip of your self-care moment and just find 5 minutes for yourself. Just go do something for yourself. Whether it's just sitting in a silent moment, or reading a book for 5 minutes, or just going for a clarity walk, or just calling somebody that can give you a word of encouragement, or just watching something that makes you laugh, or you just want to unplug, go ahead and do that for yourself, just for 5 minutes. And come back and let me know how that felt like. This was the Sip of SelfCare. So, thank you for joining me on the first episode of Self-Care with TiCa. So, next week, we're going to talk more about self-care. What is self-care? The myth of self-care. What's not self-care? It's much more than bubble bath and expensive vacation, right? So we're going to go into more details about that. But I want to thank you for joining me on my very, very first episode. So if this episode spoke to you, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share with a friend. You never know who needs some self-care in their lives. And that, my friends, is what we call Bose. Bye.